This is external validation. So another thing, I think about FLRs. FLRs is like insurance's way of externally validating how well Rehab to Perform delivers a service to a patient. Great Places to Work is an external organization that we send our emails out to, and if everybody remembers me bothering you, right, over and over, you all fill out a form. I don't see anything except for the results. I don't know what you filled out. I don't know anything. Like, it's entirely external. Inc. 5000. Here's the P&L, here's our QuickBooks, talk to our accountant, and then you get things on the back end. And the past few years, we've been able to be validated externally. If you go to slide 9, I mean, a thing is pretty cool here in year 2. You're ranking in niche-specific categories. Like, this is meaningful. This is something that ideally we don't lose, or we try to do it again next year. And much like an NPS, it guides us. How are you doing? How well are we doing? Okay, NPS is great. That's the patient-facing side. Great Places to Work. You'll hear you have a customer NPS and you have an employee NPS. How likely are you to refer somebody to work at Rehab to Perform? I would say that kind of goes hand in hand with Great Places to Work, certification, and ideally, whether or not it's the healthcare, which is on the left there at 19, and then the small business sizes, we have a benchmark that we can hold ourselves to. So as we keep moving forward, it's important to have these objective ways at viewing the company ecosystem. If I look at some of the feedback here, I mean, it's pretty cool. Like, you're at 95% compared to 57. I'm able to look at certain areas that were our like top 5 best areas. I'm also able to go on the platform and look at stuff that like's not great. I can't look at all of that and say we can address all of it at once, but it is something that we look at. It is something we talk about. It is something that we move forward with regards to the feedback. But obviously, you're trying to pick either your low-hanging fruits or your issues that you feel like are going to swing the biggest door. So if it's a big project and a lot of people want it to happen, you're going to do it. Or if it's something that's just like an easy base knock, and you feel like it's going to be something that you can kind of chip away. If I use an analogy, rocks or pebbles, we'll do big rocks and then pebbles, and ideally they'll kind of come together and help us move in the direction we want to be. To take this one step further, just something I thought was really, really cool. If you look at the word association, these are the words that you all use to describe R2P. I mean, the number one there, opportunities. It's like right in front of your face. Pretty cool, right? Around, everyone, team, life, people, growth, unique. There's just tremendous work. I mean, even have little like specialty things in terms of residency and obviously community, mentorship. But this is you all providing that feedback. Incredibly appreciative. Whether or not it's these or the end of the year 360s or the quarterly check-ins, this is where you all take ownership of R2P. If you don't contribute to these things, you don't take ownership over the place that you work. If you do contribute to these things, you take ownership and you change how we operate as a group. If I take us from Great Places to Work into the Inc. 5000, that was our ranking last year. And then if you go just by the years, you're able to look at kind of where we placed over the last 5 years. I do think we're getting to a certain point in time where, with regards to how we want to grow, percentage change increases will become harder and harder as you get to higher levels of revenue. Quite candidly, it becomes really hard to double the company every 2 years or something like that. Like it becomes challenging, and I think that you'll see, especially as the day goes on, like we're not adding 8 locations this year. Like that, so there's certain things where we'll eventually drop off this list. Great Places to Work certified will be still a major focus moving forward. But regardless, this was really cool to pair growth with company ecosystem that is appealing for individuals to work in with NPS, which validates that the experience that people are receiving from us. Anybody have any questions on any of those? Okay, R2P status update. Here's just, right, locations. Here's candidly how things are going, okay? If you're in that top 4, like those locations are rocking and rolling. They are like out of sight, out of mind, out of debt. Not really worried about them as much. They are very, very well-oiled machines. Annapolis is sprinting, okay? Sprinting to that place. Super excited at some point this year too. We're gonna be able to have a little bit bigger size facility down the hallway. Very, very excited about that. I know you all are really excited about that. Thank you for being patient. Some of that is outside of my control. So, obviously waiting to hear on the exact date. But that office is rocking and rolling. It'll be in that upper category in no time based on where it's at. 6 through 8, learning to run, right? Still growth phase, definitely some growing pains. I can say there's been, just inconsistencies, learning opportunities, okay? They're right behind Annapolis. I have no doubt by the end of this year they should both or all three be up in that category in terms of the sprinting category. And then it's no secret, Leesburg, Owings Mills, Reston, all are 13 months or less in terms of being open. But the thing that I do like to see is I like to see better early trends. And at those offices you're seeing better early trends or more consistent early trends that we had at some of the previous offices. If you are not at 1 through 4 in terms of locations, just recognize that there's a better version out there, right? You're working towards best, you're working towards being in that upper category. Hopefully this just provides you perspective that things aren't, even if you talk about behind the scenes in terms of company economics, exactly where we wanted to be. But eventually we'll have more and more locations over in the category where you'll hear me use this word again today too, sustainable, right? You can't mess with us in these locations. We have a beast of a community presence. We deliver best in practice outcomes. It's financially a very, very healthy company ecosystem and location ecosystem. And we're sitting here 10 years from now and we have X amount of locations and they're all up in that high performance bucket. So just make sure that you have an idea when a new location opens, there is a loss of money, there's a loss of time, and you are doing things to contribute to sustainability, potentially in a place where you might want to live for a long period of time. Okay? So then sometimes when you're part of a location that is being provided feedback, you're receptive to that feedback because you're aware that other ecosystems potentially are beating your ecosystem in the same company that you're at. Okay? And at the end of the day, it's just feedback. Okay? Let's talk business. Okay, here's a couple, right? Just things I'll roll through. I did this at R2Ps, but this really puts things in perspective. 65.3% of businesses failed already by the time we're at. It's really cool. Okay? You all are contributing to something that most small businesses fail. There were PT practices that failed during the pandemic. There were PT practices that IPO'd during the pandemic that now did a reverse stock split, that their stock is falling off the back end. There was a local PT practice that sold for a significant bargain to a much bigger PT organization, without saying their name, that you should put the pieces together. But there was a lot of things that from a physical therapy, healthcare, economic standpoint, were not favorable. And if anything, we've just kind of continued to move along. And for me, I'm sitting there and I go, I want to be part of the 21%, which is the 2-decade mark. Levels of mid, just thought that was kind of funny and nobody maybe is in WWE. Anybody? No? Okay. All right. Yeah. So, we're a medium-sized business, 100 to 499. We're a middle market. So for anybody that, in terms of revenue size, staff size, that gives you an idea of where we're at. But we're one of about 300,000 businesses in the whole country in terms of revenue and the overall size and scale of the organization. Some things that I think are just important to point out about how we got here. We have a differentiated service. That was when you talk about R2P early on, about where we made significant inroads. It was presenting a service that people were familiar with differently in terms of how it was communicated, how it looked, and the outcomes that were associated with the service. So and you'll hear me talk about that a little bit more as we get into how does Rehab to Perform work. But it started with differentiated service. We have been entirely bootstrapped. So if anybody has heard that word before, our money is driving forward. Whether or not it's the debt that we take on or it's our cash, we are bootstrapped. There's nobody externally that owns us, that is telling us what to do, telling us how to operate. This is us putting the straps on our boots, pounding the pavement, moving forward, and ideally being in complete control and having a physical therapy focused, physical therapy leadership oriented company to avoid some of the perils of healthcare. We have bankers running a healthcare organization. We have spent to grow to get here. You spend money to grow. You spend money to get attention, and growth usually doesn't generate profits, it eats profits. Okay, it's the only way that you move forward is you look at your cash and you go, I don't want anybody else to come in and tell us how to run the company, so we are going to spend X amount and then we're going to go ask for X amount. I just think that's important for everybody to understand. I think somebody, you maybe lose sight of the fact that there is something going on from an economical standpoint behind the scenes. Regardless, when we open a new location, certain things are promised here. We're trying to figure out things on the back end to, again, get through that location 1 to 4 category where you're debt-free, you're entirely no longer on the hook for debt. Your individual economy is no longer an issue, and you're thinking about that word sustainable again. Going to the next bullet point, ready, fire, aim. We're a ready, fire, aim company. We move fast, we get feedback fast, and we solve problems fast. I'm not going to sit here and double dutch waiting to make decisions. I think in leadership we don't have that either. Like, break it, fix it quick, move on. That's the only way you move forward as a company, and you do special things, in my opinion. I do not want to be a paralysis by analysis leader. I do not want paralysis by analysis people from a leadership standpoint across the company. Like, feel confident in making a decision, 60 to 70%, got enough information, you know that it's relatively safe for you to screw up, then move forward, learn quickly, resource something quickly, whatever we got to do, fix it, and then move forward. But we're not going to sit here and wait for perfect, and that we haven't done that. We won't do that moving forward. We've done an exceptional job assembling talent. I say this all the time, but we compete on process from a business standpoint. We'll continue to compete on process moving forward, because process allows you all to just show up and ideally not worry about what kind of outcome or what kind of thing is going to be accomplished or put out or communicated. You have enough resources. And then something I think is a differentiating factor in people and companies is the word grit, right? Do you have not just the capability to do what is asked of you or do what is comfortable for you, but do you have the ability to get outside of your comfort zone? Do you have a sense of self that is, you're going to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation. You're going to work through it. You know that there is something better as a result of experiencing the discomfort associated with something new. And ideally you push through and realize some newfound sense of self or sense of your potential. But I think of the word grit when I think of a lot of the people that have been here for a long period of time. They're not just doing what they're comfortable doing. They're stepping into new situations, knowing that there's a better version of themselves as a result of stepping into those situations. And they're doing that individually and then collectively. 2 more here. And there's Leon out in the hall. Okay, perfect. Cool. Sorry, Leon. Industry stuff. I mean, we could go into this if we want to. I don't know that it needs a ton of elaboration, but these are things that are going on outside of the company ecosystem. We mentioned reimbursement trends. We got 2 wins. Let's get another one this year. Burnout is always going to be something that is talked about. I think if we continue to balance best business model, best service model, right? More patients, seeing them in an hour, double booking, right? That would be like best business model. It's like treadmill, okay? And then over here, best service model is always, hey, you need 37 minutes, you need 43 minutes, you need 23 minutes. Like, we just can't do that. It's not repeatable. So you come up with like the blend of best service and best business model. Super excited about the AI scribe, right? Some of you are already messing with it. Some of you have communicated. I don't know where Clark is. I probably talked to him about it the most. Decreased documentation time, simplifying things, right? I mean, potentially in half, almost, right? Give or take. All right, stuff like that allows you to show up every day and ideally focus on what you want to focus on, which is most likely the people side of what it is that you do. So hopefully that'll contribute to that overall conversation. I still do think there's a lot with regards to that word that also can get placed on the next one, cost of education, if that's looming in the back end. I don't know what we can do to contribute to that conversation outside of getting more involved on a political level or potentially not taking students from high-cost schools, which I have heard that idea thrown around at certain industry organizations. I mean, that was thrown around at PPS, and that might be something that Jamie and I talk about at some point. But if you start to push back on some of these schools that are significantly more expensive, and you say we're not taking your students because we don't think that you're doing things in a manner that is fair and just for the students that you're having graduate, maybe that starts to change some of these trends. But obviously there's much bigger factors there. Company culture and values, that continues to be an issue in healthcare overall. We want to make sure that we're continuing to take care of that on our end, differentiating ourselves. It's no secret. I mean, shoot, Mead, you're welcome to the world of consolidation, right? Two different places. One's getting bought by Innova, and the other one's getting bought by what? Adventus, I think, the recent conversations that you had, right? So people are recognizing consolidation is continuing to be a major issue, right? In terms of organizations getting bigger and the care getting oftentimes, it's either the same or it's worse. And then a lot of times what happens is because they have significant bargaining power, they're able to charge multiples on top of what a private business is able to charge. That makes it less appealing if you think about our partners in the healthcare system, physicians, but physicians are going into private practice less and less and less because of these economical factors. So this is something that is going on that hopefully you all are aware of. Ideally it's something that does get addressed a little bit, again, at more of a political level, but we're going to control what we can control. I'm not optimistic. And then administrative burden. So that's something that is continue to be a talking point. Summary, we're in a position not many companies will ever get to. I will be candid, I did not have a 10-year plan to get here. Had no clue when Zach and I were, in R2P, early on, that we would be in this position. But it is definitely apparent that we need to be more intentional about 1-year, 5-year, 10-year plans moving forward. More transparent about those plans, more intentional directionality, knowing that we honestly have got to a really, really nice, stable, middle market level. And I say that because, there's not a whole lot of independent or any independent companies bigger than us that aren't owned by somebody else or potentially owned by a hospital system. So it's nice to be in that space where we've kind of pushed away from small, mom and pop private practice plays. Hey, we do great work here, but nobody's ever heard of us. No, we do great work, and people have heard of us across the DMV. And that's what we want to continue to focus on. And you'll see a book that I've been reading recently that I think is relevant to that. But these 3 words will continue to be a point of emphasis: people, process, professionalization. How to professionalize the environment. And something that I've been thinking about more and more, I want to get back to having fun. Last year was not the most fun year for me. It was a necessary year in terms of the processes and systems and stuff. But I want to get back to fun. I want to get back to the thing that the company was built on in the beginning, which was creating that Cheers-like, barbershop, salon-like, neighborhood vibe of an environment where people absolutely, I'm not saying you all haven't been doing that, but I want to get back to contributing and ideally being more of a facilitator to have even more of that. So we can elevate the amount of fun in the ecosystem, fun in the experience, where I continue to have conversation. I think I was having a conversation with Rich the other day. He's like, oh, what do I do? This person just loves coming here. Great. And I know a lot of you experience that too, but that should be what continues to be a differentiating factor for us moving forward. That get to environment, not that have to healthcare environment. And I want to make sure that I'm at least just being intentional about creating opportunities or creating structure for you all to make that even easier. These 3 books, I think, are very relevant for me on a personal level. Conscious capitalism, always kind of like a guiding thing for me from a business standpoint. I know capitalism sometimes gets a bad taste for some people, but I think there's a way to do things that ideally takes care of community, takes care of your team, takes care of patients or clients, the people receiving the service. Small giants, it's the difference between looking at an organization that goes through private equity, rapidly expands, quality goes down for patients, quality goes down for the people that work there. Like, can we just be a small giant? Could we just be a 15 to 20, and I hate using, I shouldn't use the word just, 15 to 20, 20, 25 PT location, just absolutely run the DMV. Like, nobody else can touch you with regards to what you're doing from a services standpoint, company ecosystem standpoint. It's provider-led, provider-run, and we just continue to make some of these bigger organizations just uncomfortable because they've tried to, race to certain levels, maybe from a vanity metric standpoint, but we just want to say we want something that's sustainable, that continues to deliver high value for all people that interact with the ecosystem. And at the end of the day, we want to be the best. We don't want to be the biggest. We want to be the best. And I think best kind of looks like somewhere in that middle range. I don't know exactly where in terms of settling in on numbers, but I love making people like MedStar uncomfortable, where they feel threatened by us and they have to push us out of sponsorships, or they have to do other little sneaky things because they're starting to take note of how things that we're doing from a company standpoint. And some of the other organizations too, but MedStar just always comes to mind. And I'll never forget, right? What did they, 4X R1 sponsorship? They said, kick R2P out, and we'll pay you 4 times the check. I'll never forget that. And then American Sickness, and this is just a great book. If you want to look at like just some of the perils and challenges in the healthcare ecosystem, I think it's a really good thing to just go through. What we're experiencing is not unique in the healthcare system, but how can you have a better understanding of what a lot of other providers and companies are going through, and then how do you kind of buck these trends, right? How do you address these trends? How do you differentiate yourself? It's something small, but it's just relevant to begin the year, but like cost transparency. Like, how do you get better and better about cost transparency? And that's something that's continued to be a topic of conversation. Hopefully they'll get into site neutrality with regards to payments, and then your hospital systems also won't be able to have the ability to bill people 2 to 3x what we can, but those are great books. I don't know if anybody has read either of them, maybe the one on the right there. And then just things, I want to, before I tag Leon in here, 3 things, okay? And I had a copywriter help me with this, reword it a little bit. And I want to know, hopefully it resonates. Rehab to Perform specializes in delivering rehabilitative and preventive services to the active adult competitive athlete, encompassing PT, sports rehab, and wellness. Rehab to Perform aspires to set the standard for customer and employee experiences in the DMV, inspiring a community to be greater than yesterday. Good? Head nods? Like it? Okay? That's like us at our core. Vision. Our vision is to transform healthcare into an empowering get-to experience, delivering individualized care, education, and best-in-class results that help people move and feel their best. Good? Head nods? And then what do? A hybrid between traditional PT and kind of personal training. Rehab to Perform provides a cutting-edge, personalized healthcare experience that empowers individuals to move with confidence, achieve their goals, and reduce their risk of re-injury or future injury, ensuring they're not only ready to perform now, but able to perform for life. Right? See some of the company slogans, right? Yep. Okay. So clear. These are like revised on the website. This will be more regularly used marketing, stuff that goes out to you all, stuff that ideally that we continue to communicate through community interactions, through patient interactions, and amongst ourselves. But overall, like, again, when it comes to state of R2P, I feel blessed to sit here every single year, and we're in a better spot than we were last year. We're in an awesome position where I think that we can continue to command things when it comes to discounts and fee scheduling changes that'll change the economy for you all. I think we're in an incredibly influential position too, where like regardless of whether or not people work here, hopefully we can get other companies to adapt practice, or students that spend time with us to take things home. There's kind of like that trickle-down effect, but I still kind of view our company, and I want to continue to position us in a situation where we are early adopters, we're innovators, we are kind of seen as this like guiding light for other professionals and other healthcare companies, even outside of PT. To be honest, where I think we can be influential beyond just a PT lens, and ideally continue to be a source of tremendous positivity in a healthcare landscape that sometimes looks very, very bleak. But thank you all for allowing me to be in the position that I'm in. I say this every year, hopefully I'm earning my keep in the CEO role, and I just continue to be blessed to be able to work with you all and contribute to a greater R2P. So thank you very much.